Welcome to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome inside the KDKA TV studios. The Steelers never make it easy, but they come away with another win, 6-3 now after a 23-19 win today over Green Bay at Acrisure Stadium. Welcome to the postgame show. Bob Pompeani along with Hokie Bros 76, Chris Hoke. They never do make it easy. Two of the biggest plays of the game by a veteran. You love veterans. This is Veterans Weekend. We talk about the military. It was Patrick Peterson, right?
Yeah.
He blocked an extra point, and then he made the pass defense that led to the Neal interception in the end zone.
A guy that everyone keeps saying he's washed up. He can't run with anybody. He's running step for step with the receiver, tips the ball. KZ gets the ball and returns it back. And what an interception, what a return there. And really, this was a game that was won, again, in the fourth quarter. Big plays by that defense. Bob, how many times is this defense going to bail out this team in the final minutes of the game?
Well, they do it quite a bit, and they do it by offense doesn't make mistakes, and the defense comes up with takeaways, and they had two of them, and they needed both in this game, as it turned out. And over the last four games, we've talked a lot about Kenny Pickett and the offense in the fourth quarter, but the defense has been just as good. Shut down. They've only allowed 3 points in 5 games in the fourth quarter now. And when you do that, you're going to win a lot of games, and they did today. They had to bend quite a bit, but they didn't break.
And that's the thing, is they really that gave a big plays down the field. And we're talking 37-yard passes, 28-yard passes down the field. But when they got in the red zone, when they had to make their money, they made their money, Bob. They got the ball back, was able to bring it back and give the ball to the offense and close the game out there at the end with that great interception in the closing seconds. So you have to give credit to the Steelers defense that rose up. Not a lot of pressure on the quarterback today. There was some there. One sack, I believe, in this game, Bob. And you look at the takeaways did not happen till the final 5 minutes of the game, where I always say that's where the game's won or lost.
And quite frankly, this was a run-first approach again today. And the Steelers last week, you might remember, 166 yards on the ground. Well, today they did better than that, over 200 yards. Jaylen Warren is just a machine. That dude gets the ball. He never, you talk about energizer runners, he's one of them. He's been terrific. Najee Harris had 82 yards. Over 200 yards rushing. Pickett's number's pretty pedestrian, but the one thing about the way they play right now is that when they don't make turnovers, you go back to 2019 here, they are now 20-2 when they don't turn the ball over. When they have one or more turnovers, they are 24, 28-1. So that's pretty much the remedy or the recipe they're trying to come up with here. Just don't turn the ball over, let your defense make plays. But sooner or later, you got to put a game away early. And again, I thought today they would with 2 touchdowns early on.
Yeah, I mean, listen, that's not the Steelers play, right? This team, they play games like this. They don't care how they win. They just want to win. And what you have is this defense that is playing physical, but the running game really helps take time off the clock. It wears down a defense, so you're getting a lot of yardage in the fourth quarter. Over 200 yards rushing. I mean, listen, Jaylen Warren, he's like a jitterbug. This guy, you think he's going to get taken down for a loss. He makes guys miss. He spins in the air. He's getting positive yardage. And then when there's nowhere to go, he seems to put his foot in the ground, and he accelerates through, I don't know what kind of gap he finds, and is getting positive yardage. I think I saw today, Bob, more runs over 10 yards than we've seen in a long time from this Steelers offense.
Yeah, it seems like a 50-50 split. I guess that's the way it should be with two running backs like this, because one complements the other. But I'll tell you, Jaylen Warren is earning his keep, not just in terms of carries, but some money down the road, because he, of course, when you're undrafted, you don't make a lot of money. And then all of a sudden you earn it, you're going to get it. Eventually he will, based on how he's playing right now. But I also want to talk about the offensive line, too, as we await Mike Tomlin in his press conference. We have that coming up. Rich Walsh is in the locker room. We'll have post-game reaction and more analysis. Plus, we'll take a spin around the AFC North, which is pretty competitive right now. But for now, let's take a look at the scoring summary here, and we'll start there, because this one started very quickly with both teams scoring on their first possession, or at least the Steelers did. It was Najee Harris completing a 75-yard drive, 4-yard score to make it 7-0. And then Dobbs came right back on a nice throw from Jordan Love. And Levi Wallace had a tough start to this game, Chris. It was 7-7 at that point. Jaylen Warren then on another nice drive by the Steelers, mostly running 16 yards. He gets in to make it a 14-7 game. Chris Boswell added a field goal after that. And then it was Green Bay getting back into it. Reed, 35 yards. Again, big passes by Jordan Love, who went down the field. But it was the blocked extra point that made a difference there at 17-13. Carlson had a couple of field goals to make it tight. They led 19-17, but the Wizard of Oz comes through at the end with a couple of field goals here, one from 49, one from 35. I always put out appreciation tweets for him. because, quite frankly, he's been so good. The only miss this year was a 61-yarder after that stupid call that they called offside, or I don't know what they called it. It was 55 yards and good. They moved him back to 61 or whatever, and he ends up missing that one. But, the bottom line is the offensive line did a good job here, too. And we should talk about Broderick Jones, Isaac Seumalo, Mason Cole at times, all of them. Broderick Jones really feels natural over on the right side, and he's going to stay there, it looks like.
I just think he's an athlete. He can play wherever they want to put him because right now he is so physical. You saw the big run play where he pulled from that backside and kicked out that inside linebacker and created a huge hole for the running back to run through. That's what he does. Very athletic. They can pull him. They can move him, whatever they need. But what I love is they were knocking the defensive lineman back of the Green Bay Packers. Mason Cole, he had his struggles, but when you needed him to block, he double-teamed with Seumalo, climbed to the linebacker, was able to see the linebacker inside and open up holes over and over again. I mean, when was the last time, Bob, we saw the Steelers run for 206 yards and they had 5.7-yard average? This is a team that's in the bottom quarter of running in the NFL, and today put on a clinic of how to dominate the line of scrimmage and break tackles and get positive yards. They had a ton of yards after contact, Najee Harris and Jaylen Warren, and just all around the running game is what led the Steelers to this victory.
No question about it. If you look at the number of attempts, pretty even. Warren had 15 for 101. That's a big 6.7 average. Najee Harris, 16 for 82. 5.1 yards per carry, but those are both very good averages. You don't see them. Both had pretty good runs of 20, 24 yards respectively, but I think it helps Najee Harris staying fresh. Remember his rookie year, he was carrying the ball the entire time. He was also very much used as a, back out of the backfield to make catches. Jaylen Warren's pretty much assumed that role, and he's done a very good job with it.
Yeah, I mean, look at that right there, 24. When was the last time you saw two running backs have a 20-yard run and a 24-yard run? And I absolutely agree with you, Bob, that keeping Najee Harris healthy and keeping him fresh in these games allows him to run the ball hard there. I mean, 5.1 average, I believe his career record is below 4 yards. And so 5.1 for him, 6.7 for Jaylen Warren is something I think you'll see consistently throughout the season if they can keep it balanced like this.
And if you had told me before this game that George Pickens would have just 3 targets and Johnson would have just 1, that was pretty much it, I wouldn't have thought they would have won. We're taking a look at the live press conference room. As you can see it right here, we're waiting for Mike Tomlin to get in there with his post-game comments after he addresses the team. And now the Steelers at 6-3 look pretty good as they have 2 very big games coming up on the road now at Cleveland and at Cincinnati. And Cleveland right now is still involved in the game. They were getting blown out early by Baltimore. Now it's 31-30 very late in the game. Cleveland had the ball. They didn't look good at first, but Baltimore's made some mistakes. Cleveland's defense has forced those mistakes. So we'll see what happens there. But it is, and Cincinnati loses to Houston. I made this statement last week to you, and a lot of people were like, why would you say that? C.J. Stroud, we talk about MVP candidates in the league. Why wouldn't you talk about him as an MVP candidate right now? I know all the quarterbacks get the attention. He should too. 15 touchdowns now, 1 interception. They go on and, coming into the season, they had a 4.5 win total over and under. They're at 5 right now. They beat Cincinnati. They beat Pittsburgh. They could get to the playoffs with a very young team, and he's the first-year quarterback. And
nobody thought the Texans would play the way they're playing right now. They're playing with house money the whole season. Now they have C.J. Stroud, which you're right, Bob. Last week he led the team down the field in the last second to win the game. They do it again this week, and it's a team now that you have to look at and think, man, this is a team that every single week they're going to go out and battle. It's going to be a tough game that people thought they marked and said, easy win right here. We can rest some of the guys that are hurt. C.J. Stroud and this Texans offense are tough. Then you look at the Cincinnati Bengals, who were on a 4-game win streak coming into this game. Joe Burrow had 10 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and you thought that they were going to continue to roll. This was a big loss for them to set them back, especially with the Steelers winning and the Ravens. I mean, if they end up winning today, could really separate themselves from the Bengals.
All right, Mike Tomlin is making his way to the podium. We'll take you live to Acrisure Stadium right now to hear comments from Coach Tomlin.
Just another tight ball game, man. I'm really just appreciative of the mindset of our group, man. They want to make the significant plays in the significant moments, and it's a good thing because these games are always tight. Let's talk about why it was tight. We lost some significant possession downs early in the game. A couple third downs, they not only converted them, but they turned them into scores. Those 2 touchdowns in the first half. We got to be able to win those downs and fight for those 4 points. Make people settle for field goals. We weren't able to do it, and so the game got tight. We had to settle for a few field goals. They played on the back of those two touchdown opportunities, and so it was game on from there. But really appreciative of the effort. I thought our bigs up front on offense did a really good job of kind of controlling it. I thought we were able to run the ball effectively, and that's a good posture to play from. We made the necessary splash plays on defense in the waning moments, man, when they got somewhat one-dimensional. They do a really good job, man, of kind of keeping you off balance schematically and, minimizing that young quarterback's exposure to a defense. But later in the game, man, when it gets a little bit thick, I thought we would have our opportunities, and we did, and we made them. And so excited about that. Bumps and bruises associated with play. Pierce Quan Alexander has a serious lower body injury. He's being evaluated, but not promising there. Deontay Johnson had a thumb, was able to finish. Ken O'Neal had a rib injury of some description. And I think we had Trent in there at the end of the game for him. And so, we got to assess who's available to us and put together a good plan. We won't make excuses about who we have available or who we don't. We got an appropriate amount of time to prepare. We're going on a divisional road game, and so you know what that means in the North. Has our attention. Questions?
You talk all the time about starting fast. It was as fast as you started all year. Today, what was the difference?
I'm not going to act like something mystical is transpiring. You guys, we're just going to continue to work. We've worked, and we will continue to work, and we're starting to see some of the fruit of that labor, and it's really as simple as that.
33-year-old Patrick Peterson, a couple big plays, block kick, 19, breakup. Could you just talk about his contribution this afternoon?
I just love the spirit and wisdom that he brings, man. He is always a calming voice, a steadying presence. He works really well with Joey. When I'm talking to the group and I'm looking around, he's always giving you that knowing nod. It's just good to have a veteran player that's a quality human being like him, because he is very much a component of raising some of the young ones that are contributing big.
Mike, you guys were able to, like Cal Jerry was saying, being able to start fast with 2 scores, 9-play drive, 11-play drive. To be able to start with 2 touchdowns, but also to have long drives where you can possess the ball, what does that add, especially to the start of the game?
We're just working. We're going to continue to do so. Those are our intentions anyway. And so there's nothing spectacular about it. It's just, mission accomplished.
Are you concerned about the multiple injuries on defense going forward?
There's a lot of things to be concerned about, during the course of this journey. Injury is a part of the game. It's as much a part of the game as blocking and tackling. I've learned over the years not to worry about those that are not available to me, but to focus my energies on those that are available to me to make sure that they are ready and prepared and focused. And so that's my general mindset regarding injuries.
Ran the ball really well the last 2 games, but between both guys. Anything that's just starting to round into shape now, the run game?
It feels that way. It really does. But keep watching. You know how it is. We face a really stout defense here coming up here this week from what I hear.
The guys you have available, how important was it Landon Roberts, especially after Quan went down, and keeping things steady on the inside?
Landon's been here the whole time, and he's been a quality contributor the whole time, so I'm not going to pretend like he did something today that he hasn't been doing. He's a quality veteran player. He's a really good communicator. He takes the run game personally. Those are the reasons why we acquired him in free agency, and he's consistently provided that.
First 100-yard game for Jaylen. What do you appreciate about the way he runs/plays the game?
He just plays hard. He runs hard. He plays hard. He's a tough, hard-working young man. He's deserving of the recognition and the production that he's providing.
Broderick settling in there at second start right tackle.
I think he's been really good, and I think we have been really good. You can't deny that.
Coach, your thoughts on the defense basically not giving up a TD the rest of the game in the second half?
I'm more concerned about those 2 we gave up on possession downs in the first half, to be quite honest with you. We need those 8 points. We get people in possession down football. We need those. not only did they convert third downs, but they got the ball in the end zone on those 2 possessions. And so we take that personally.
Is Patrick Peterson about as good as there is coming off that edge and on timing that extra point?
Man, Pat was a rookie, and he had a reputation for doing that. And, you know, we double cadenced him, and I think we got him to jump off sides. And so this is not a new skill that he has. We've known about it for some time. We were playing them out in Arizona. I think we got him to jump off sides as a rookie, and he and I had a little exchange, a laugh about it in game. He's been a dynamic player in that area.
What's it like as a head coach to have Chris Boswell?
It's automatic. You know, I've been really blessed here in the time that I've been here. You know, I've been here a long time and essentially have had 3 kickers. And so that continuity, man, that ability to deliver with a high level of consistency is, we don't talk about it enough, but rest assured it's appreciated.
0 turnovers by the offense in the last 2 games. Can you just comment on that?
You know, that's the turnover component of play is one of our key ingredients for engineering victory. It not only do we have to take care of the ball, but we have to get the ball. We haven't been clean through 9 games. Obviously, we've talked a lot about our warts, but that turnover ratio has not been one of them. Generally, we do a good job of taking care of the ball. Generally, we do a really good job of searching for and getting after the ball, and it's probably the difference in these tight games.
Danny Smith okay? And what are your thoughts on what happened on that last play of the game?
I don't know what you're referring to regarding Danny.
Danny got hit on the tackle out of bounds.
I assume he's fine. I don't know that I made eye contact with him, but I hadn't heard wind of anything of any significance such as that, so no.
Any thoughts on just the hit out of bounds and the guys?
I didn't see it. You guys love to chase emergency vehicles. All that transpired, you asking about that.
Anyone else? All right.
Thank you.
Danny Smith. The one thing about Danny Smith, he can take a pounding and he'll get back up and never stop chewing his gum. It's unbelievable. He got crushed over there.
He's like the Energizer Bunny. You've ever been around Danny Smith? That guy does not stop, and that gum, he does not stop chewing that jaw. My jaw would be sore after doing all that chewing.
That rivals Cower. All right, we're going to take a break here. We have much more coming up. We're going to take you inside the locker room. We're going to tell you that Cleveland won. They were down big to Baltimore. That makes everything very tight and sets up a big week in the AFC North. We'll get into all that and more as we continue. Plus, we'll take your phone calls coming up a little bit later. This is the Extra Point Show, brought to you by your neighborhood Ford store. Following a 23-19 Steelers win, they get the 6 wins and 3 losses.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
All right, welcome back. Steelers win today, and this is how the AFC North now looks. The Ravens at home today had a big lead over Cleveland. The Browns come back to win it on a field goal late, 33-31. So the Ravens at 7-3. The Steelers, Browns tied 6-3. The Bengals lose at home to Houston. They're 5-4. Look at the right column there, Chris. The only team without a division loss is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And this next week is going to be a big one because not only do the Steelers go to Cleveland, but Baltimore will host Cincinnati on Thursday Night Football. So
Finally, the first Thursday Night Football game that really matters. I'm interested in watching. It's been a while.
Well, the Steelers over the Titans.
Well, yeah, but when you're watching the Bears and whoever they're playing. But you look right here. That's why it's so important. We make such a big deal on here, Bob, about division wins and conference wins because tiebreakers matter. I mean, right now the Steelers are tied with, 5 teams at 6-3 in the AFC right now. And so they – having this division wins and having the conference wins are a big deal when we come down here to stretch run into that final time of the season.
All right, Patrick Peterson, one of the heroes today, spoke after the game. Rich Welsh in the locker room. Let's take you there to hear from number 20.
Understanding what teams are doing in the first half, and if you feel something that we're doing not working, we'll make an adjustment going into the second half and try to see what adjustments they make. And if they didn't, our adjustments typically always end up working because they think we're going to come out and do the same thing we did in the first half. So Coach have a great intuition on, when to change things up to put us in a better position to make plays.
You just hit the halfway point, 6-3. Mm-hmm. Pretty good spot to be in?
Yep, pretty good spot. Still got a long way to go. A lot of good football to play. Now we're about to roll into the AFC North cycle here, back-to-back AFC North opponents. So road's going to be tough for us, so we just got to keep our head down and keep fighting.
When you save a point that early on the extra point block, I mean, is that one you're kind of stashed in the back here?
Oh, no doubt about it.
It's going to be big in the fourth quarter.
No doubt about it. Anytime you can steal a point or two away from a special teams, you always think that it's going to come down to that. And at the end of the day, it stopped those guys from going for a field goal to tie the ball game to possibly go into overtime. So it was a huge play for us. I timed the snap just right. I was looking back, I was hoping it wasn't no flag, and it wasn't. And that was definitely one of the plays that helped us win this ball game.
Third or fourth time this year you've gone.
Say it again.
That's like the third or fourth time.
Yeah,
this year,
I think I got about 4 or 5 in my career so far. So.
And you had some offsides too.
I know, but the thing is, we had a little. I ain't gonna say nothing.
Was it your best game? Is this your best game with the Steelers? And how do you think you've been playing all year by your standards?
I've been up and down. Honestly, being here, learning a new position, not really having an opportunity to be outside and get the feel on how guys want to run routes. That's kind of how I've been the majority of my career. So if I'm outside, I kind of get a feel on how teams want to attack me. But now, being moved around a little bit more, it's more fun in my opinion. But it's up and down because I'm getting used to a new position.
Did you intentionally tip that ball to Neal?
No, I did not intentionally tip it to him. I just knew we had a half-field high safety, and that's why I didn't swat it down. Just wanted to put enough air on it so someone can come up under and get it.
All right, that's Patrick Peterson. The news from Mike Tomlin's press conference, the biggest one is another loss potentially to an inside linebacker. Quan Alexander left this game, did not return. He called it a problem, a serious lower body from what we could hear there. So if that's the case, they lost Cole Holcomb. They had a position of depth there. All of a sudden that depth has been, if he can't go on, then what?
Oh, that's the struggle right now, right? You have Kelly Holcomb that got hurt last week, and then you have Quan Alexander this week. Now you just have Landon Roberts and you have Marcus Robinson. After that, who do you have? And that's where the question comes into right now. When you have depth, it's only as good as guys staying healthy. And when you start to stretch that depth, then you really start to worry on how they're going to execute, what happens to one of those guys, who's going to be the green dot. So it introduces a lot of things that the Steelers have to work on this week as they get ready for a division opponent. And so right now, I don't even know. I know they brought a guy up, Bob, off the practice squad this week, yesterday in preparation for this game. And he's going to be thrown in now to get meaningful reps and practice and preparation for next week.
Yeah, big week coming up. They can hope that Minkah Fitzpatrick could be over his hamstring injury. We'll see how that goes. Meantime, Jaylen Warren continues to get all kinds of tremendous compliments from not just the coaching staff, but players around the NFL are noticing this as well. Today, 15 rushes, 101 yards, 6.7 average. He runs with passion no matter what he's doing. He hits holes very hard. He spoke after the game, and this is what he had to say.
And it helps us, get the job done.
It certainly looks like you and Najee are also getting into a nice rhythm with the carry load being split between the two of you.
Hey, whatever it takes, whatever it takes to win the game, that's what we're going to do.
It seemed like a lot of those runs out there, you guys had giant holes to run through.
That's what I'm saying. That's all credit to the O-line. We did what we did because of them.
You like this 1-2 punch that you guys have going?
Yeah, it's nice, yeah. I like it a lot.
It helps both you guys, obviously, right? You get to rest while he's in there.
Fresh legs, yeah. That's how we kind of want to do it. Put fresh legs in there. Distribute plays how they're supposed to be distributed, and just whatever helps us win.
All right, there we go with Jaylen Warren and his numbers. As I said, 101 yards, nice yards per carry average. He's also very viable in the pass game, although the one pass, which I thought was a turnover by the Steelers, they got lucky. They blew the whistle. They had to review it. It looked like a backward pass to me. We'll get into that a little bit later, but they're going to need this. This is the way for them to win. And once again, Chris, this is the 9th straight game here. They are 6-3, but they've been outgained in every one of their 9 games. That's never happened before in the NFL. So somehow they're getting it done.
But they're finding a way to win, right? And they're getting outscored. And Coach Tomlin, if you ask him, he doesn't care about that. All he cares about is the wins and losses and finding a way to make it happen. And again, when you have a defense like this who bends and bends and bends and doesn't break and always comes up with a turnover in the last few minutes of a game, you can afford to get outgained. Now listen, here's what you don't want to get in the habit of doing that, even though they have for the last 9 games. It's when you get into December ball and January ball, it can come back to bite you. And when you play January ball, it just takes one time and you lose and you're out. And so they've got to find a way to turn this around offensively. But when you can run the ball for 206 yards, that really washes away a lot of mistakes in a game.
And it seems to happen a lot in these AFC head-to-head matchups. You'll see it next week in Cleveland, where the Browns have come back and beaten Baltimore. So we have a lot coming up. We'll take a break, come back with more locker room interviews, more analysis, and then later your phone calls following a Steelers win. So they get 3 games at home. They win 2 of the 3. They only lost to Jacksonville. They're now 6-3. We break it down as we continue with your neighborhood Ford store Extra Point here on KDKA TV.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store Steelers Extra Point.
Bob Pompeani, Chris Hoke with you in studio as we take a look around the NFL. Yes, the Ravens were up early on this game, 17-3, but the Browns come back, win 33-31. Lamar Jackson had 2 costly interceptions in this game. 49ers, even though Christian McCaffrey's touchdown streak ends at 17, they beat the Jags in Jacksonville. That's a statement win for them, and if they had lost 3 in a row, 34-3. Texans, of course, coming back and beating the Bengals at Cincinnati, 30-27, so they're 5-4 and certainly a playoff contending team. And all I remember seeing from the Patriots game was Bill Belichick and Bill O'Brien just absolutely going all after Mac Jones after he threw one of the most ridiculous interceptions I've seen, and the Patriots are really struggling. One guy who isn't is Cam Heyward back in the lineup, making his presence known. Here's what he had to say after the game.
Us, we know them, and AFC North football, here we come.
Kim, 4 of those 6 wins have come down to a defensive turnover at the end of the game. What does it say about this defense right now, what you're able to do late?
It's a multitude of guys stepping up in those moments. Is it pretty? No, not always, but in the ugliness of it, there's a lot of beauty, and it allows us to relish those moments and allow us to cherish when the game's on the line.
They're beautiful wins.
Ugly wins for y'all, beautiful wins for us.
As a defensive leader, just how proud are you of the defense for being able to do that?
I'm proud, but there's still a lot of stuff we got to work on, you don't get excited 6-3 in the middle of the season. A lot of football to be played, and 6-3 is a good mark, but a lot of football in front of us. A lot of guys stepping up in different situations, so we got to address the problems and just keep growing from it.
What are some of the problems that you'd like to
I think we could be more stout in the run game. Communication-wise, and the inside linebacker position is ever-changing. Quan Alexander goes down today. Cole Holcomb last week. Atlanta Roberts had to step up. He had Mark Robb in there. There's a hub of communication that comes from that we got to continue to keep getting better at. And that's not just from them. That's from, the D-line perspective, the safety perspective. Everybody's got to communicate at a high level, especially to just take a lot off of their shoulders. And I think we can just be better at our blitzing and our timing of stuff. And I think getting off on third down. I thought we were a lot better this week than the week before. But that's something you always got to improve on.
How do you feel?
Hmm? How do I feel?
Well, yeah, how do you feel? I know obviously there's some things to work on. I guess if you look at the record, you got to play pretty good.
I feel sore. I think you never want to just say, "Hey, we're 6-3." That's okay. There's room for improvement, and we understand that we got to keep growing and keep learning. But it's better to learn from wins than learn from losses.
All right, that's Cam Heyward, and you can count on Cam for a quote. In the ugliness of it all, there's a lot of beauty.
So poetic.
It is. And typically, when you win ugly, it doesn't mean you're scoring a lot of points. No. And that's the thing. You get the win, that's what matters most.
There's
because
beauty
at the end of the day, that's what they pay you for. TJ Watt is paid to make sacks, and he made another one today. Let's go live right now, his press conference at Acrisure Stadium.
3 and outs as a defense is something we've been emphasizing and something we need to continue to get better at.
TJ, you started the game -2 starters. You lost 2 more as the game went on. What was your level of confidence in the group at the end of the game there?
Well, huge. Being able to walk away with the win is huge. And we know it sucks when guys go down, but like I've said since the beginning is everybody in here practices every week. Everybody's in the same meetings. Everybody knows what the standard is. It's all about stepping up in those moments. We don't have time to sit around and sulk while we have a football game going on. We just need to take it in stride, and I feel like we did a good job of that today.
Specifically with Landon, notice from him today or since you've been his teammate this year?
What are you asking?
What Landon Roberts has brought to your group and how
Yeah,
you got everything together today?
He's just got a steady voice inside. He's never too high, never too low. Very confident player. He's going to get us lined up exactly how we need to, and that's all we really need as a defense. We just need to be on the same page, and he's a guy that's been able to do that since he's been here, a true professional, and he's making some good plays for us as well.
On that front, though, I mean, he came into the season knowing Cole would probably be the every down guy. He comes into this game thinking Quan would be the every down guy. What does that say about a veteran to adjust on the fly like that and play as much as he did in this kind of setting?
Yeah, everybody in the building prepares like they're a starter, and he's no different. And he's always been really good at communicating, been in every single meeting, every additional meeting, and he's done a great job. And I mean, even on top of the special teams that he's been playing, so he's had a full plate. And to be able to step up in a game like this when you didn't know if your number was going to be called, it just shows how much he's been preparing this whole time for that moment.
Close games that you guys have played, does that kind of allow you to keep your composure in those late moments when you're up against it?
Yeah, I mean, as a defense, we always want to be out there when the game's on the line. Obviously, we don't love close games, but if we have to, we want to be able to dictate what happens in the end of the game. And I mean, we've had so much built-in adversity through the whole process. Coach T's all about it, so it's just a matter of not blinking in those moments.
TJ, a couple big plays on 3rd and long. I know it's tough, having not seen it, but anything you can kind of diagnose as to what happened on that?
No, we just need to clean up the splash. I mean, overall, I feel like we're playing pretty well defensively. We need to clean up the 3-and-outs, obviously, and then just the splash. We're creating negativity in early downs. It's just when we get them behind the chains, it's how do we close out drives, and I'm sure that's going to be a point of emphasis this week.
What did you see in that little scrum?
All right. That's TJ Watt, and he had the 1 sack today. And if you look at his day of work, 8 tackles. Alex Highsmith had 3. But I'll tell you, largely, I thought Green Bay offensive line did a very good job scheming around these guys. You didn't hear their names too often. You didn't hear Ogunjobi's name too often. Even Houston, back when the Steelers lost, they did a good job of not allowing TJ Watt or Alex Highsmith to dominate a game or take over a game. What did they do today to kind of limit these numbers?
Well, it's a lot of what the Houston Texans did against the Steelers as well, right? You have a running back out there that widens them out, or a tight end that widens them out, so you have to have a farther to go to get to the quarterback. But really, the reality is that they're not having a huge impact on the game. 40 throws by Jordan Love and only 3 QB hits, 1 sack. You would expect one of the best duos in the NFL at rushing the quarterback, getting more hits, getting more impact on this game, and they just didn't have it today. And that's why you saw Jordan Love make 5 receptions, Bob. Count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 35 yards today. That's a lot of yardage and a losing effort, but still, that's why the Steelers at the end of the game kept having to defend the end zone because of those big-time chunk plays.
Plus, they had a 40-some-yard run, and those were on a 3rd and 16 play, a 35-yard touchdown to Jaylen Reed. 3rd and 16, you don't want to give up first down, let alone a touchdown. They did. 3rd and 7 goes 37 yards to Luke Musgrave, and then a 3rd and 10, 32 to Wicks. So those are things they certainly have to clean up and cannot allow. We'll take a break here, and we will continue with more post-game analysis and comments from the locker room. Steelers win. They're now 6-3, tied with Cleveland, and it's a head-to-head matchup with the Browns next weekend in Cleveland. We'll talk about it when we continue right here on your neighborhood Ford store, Extra Point.
Welcome back to the neighborhood Ford store, Steelers Extra Point.
All right, here are your JP Roofing final stats. Chris, your takeaway from these?
Well, of course, the rushing game, right? 36 for 205, 5.7 average. But look at there, Bob. The reason why this game was so close coming down to the end, the Steelers 4 for 13 on 3rd down. They're not sustaining drives. And the reason why the time of possession is so close is because of those running plays that keeps the clock running with their offense. They've got to continue to work on that 3rd down efficiency. If they do that, they'll be able to make these games a little more easy for you and I to watch and not have heart attacks at the end of the game.
Yeah, 8 for 16, pretty good for Green Bay, and they had many of those, as I said, were 3rd and long situations. Adam Schefter is now reporting that Quan Alexander has a torn Achilles, which means he'll be done for the season just like Cole Holcomb. And suddenly that inside linebacker position, which many people thought was a nice depth position, is going to be challenged. In the meantime, Broderick Jones made the best of his second start again at right tackle. This is what he's had to say after the game.
Just what they see, just being able to visualize what they're seeing, like the cuts they're trying to make. If they see a 3-tech stretching with us, they'll cut it back. If we get them sealed, they'll hit the hole. You know, just little things like that. The linebacker play, all that plays a factor in.
Who are the most vocal people in those meetings?
Everybody. Everybody gets to say so in those meetings. It's not just one specific person, so.
Getting 2 run performances like these last 2 games, how does that feel as an offensive lineman?
It feels good, man. Just being able to commit to it and sticking to the plan. So.
You got your 200.
Got my 200, man. Yeah.
Did anybody tell you were nuts when you said that?
Nah.
You believe?
Nah. I just know with the group we got up front and the running backs we have behind us, it's no way we shouldn't be able to get 200 plus every game. So.
Broderick, you guys make this interesting. All 6 wins came down to the very end. I think 4 of the 6 have come down to defensive turnovers to win it. I mean, what's it like staying on the sidelines when all these games come down to the very end?
We almost had it today. Austin had one of those offensive PIs that hurt us a little bit, but we were able to overcome it. But at the end of the day, we get the job done to the best of our abilities.
How do you feel at the midway point about this team?
I feel like we're learning a lot within each other. Just being able, on both sides of the ball. Guys are doing a great job. I'm really happy for the rookies. Keanu had a great game today. Joy had a great game today. So just being able to see those guys excel, feels good.
Broderick Jones after the game, and I'll tell you something, ever since he's been in there, last couple of games, 166 yards, over 200 today. Chris, they seem to be pulling guys an awful lot. He is really quick for his size to move in and create an opportunity.
He's quick and very agile, and also he can move all over the line of scrimmage. Everybody thought he was at the left side, left tackle, and that's where I really believe he'll be long term, but being able to move to the right tackle shows his athleticism and his ability to be flexible and off the line. But you talk about this all coming together. Mason Cole being able to work double teams with James Daniels and with Sayamalo, and then climbing to a linebacker. How many times do we see 10-plus yard runs because of Mason Cole getting to the second level? That's one of the things Steelers struggled with early in the season, was getting to the linebackers. Linebackers were roaming free. Now they're doubling, climbing to linebackers, getting a hat on a hat. And when you can do that, when you have a jitterbug like Jaylen Warren who can quickly get past these blocks, or you got Najee Harris who can break arm tackles and bust through the line, that's when you're starting to get some of these big runs. And Bob, there was a time then when there was an 8-yard run, a 10-yard run, a 12-yard run. We're not seeing a lot of negative plays anymore, which is really nice.
Yeah, as far as the Heywards are concerned, you heard from Cam. Now you're going to hear from his brother, because he had as many targets today as George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. 4 targets, 3 catches, Connor Heyward. This is what he had to say after the game.
It seems like a totally different offense when you guys are able to run the ball like you did the last couple games.
Yeah, starts up front, and our O-line's been playing really well. Titans have been doing their job in the run game, and obviously having Najee and Jaylen, and we're feeding off them, and it just opens everything else up. It makes the teams have to come up and stop the run, and then that's when we can take our shots. And we know in the later part of the season, you got to be able to run the ball.
Every game seems to be interesting for you guys. Every win comes down to the very end. I think 4 of the 6 wins came down to a turnover by your defense.
Yeah, defense made some crucial plays. Keanu with the interception in the end zone, and then obviously Boz knocking down that extra point just to make it a 4-point game and not a 3-point game. So they had to score.
How do you feel where you guys are right now at the halfway point, 6-3? Obviously the record's good.
Yeah, the record's good, but we're not satisfied. We know we have a big game coming up, and it's about to be the run of the AFC North.
Yeah, that starts next week. You'll see it on KDKA, the Steelers and the Cleveland Browns. As far as the tight end position, though, he was targeted 4 times. Darnell Washington 1 for 1. But we know that Pat Freiermuth, when he comes back, will be the man. In the meantime, Chris, they are not utilizing the tight end position at all. Are you surprised Washington isn't at least a more viable guy in the pass game?
You would think that they would throw the ball to him over the middle. He's long, he's able to go deep, and he can run pretty good for being a big guy like an